Hey everybody, Jeff Fisher in the High School Football America studios in Southern California. It's been a big afternoon of high school football around the country. We've already had an upset in New Jersey that we're going to talk about in just a little bit. We've had 4 teams now lose in the top 100, which means we will shake things up tomorrow when the new High School Football America Top 100 is released, and it's all based on our proprietary algorithm. The upset was in New Jersey, and Paramus Catholic, they lose again. Last week they lost to number 27 St. Peter's Prep. This week Pope John Paul XXIII, they remain undefeated by beating the Paladins by a score of 43-7. I'll tell you what, there is some great football going on in New Jersey this year. Everybody evenly matched. I don't know that there's a favorite coming in. I said on Twitter earlier today, I don't know if we can call anything an upset at this point. Everybody is so evenly matched. And boy, this was a great game as St. Joseph Regional, number 47. They began the season ranked number 7 in the High School Football America preseason top 100. Don Bosco Prep was also ranked highly in the preseason, but they've now lost 4 games. St. Joe's needs to score a touchdown with under a minute to go in this one, and they come from behind and beat the Ironmen by a score of 16-15. You gotta believe that the down the stretch games here in the North Jersey Super Football Conference, the United Red, are going to be some sort of football games. Everybody is so evenly matched. We're going to talk about a big one coming up next week in just a little bit here. Let's go to Indianapolis, where Indianapolis Cathedral hosted St. Edward out of Ohio, 2 very good private schools there in the Midwest, and St. Edward remains undefeated. They're now 7-0 as they take down Cathedral by a score of 38-10. And Archer has a big one next week against Grayson, number 4 in the High School Football America Top 100. And maybe they were just looking past Newton. Newton got out to a 12-0 lead in this one, and then Archer was able to come back. The Tigers pick up the victory today by a score of 20-19. But again, just maybe looking ahead to that big matchup next week against Grayson. Well, we had 6 big games last night in the High School Football America Top 100, and some of them were just really, really good. And let's go there now and see what happened last night. And there was the score that we just showed you earlier. And there we go. We had one big upset, and that was Gonzaga taking down DeMatha by a score of 26-20. The Eagles in the Washington Catholic Athletic Conference game with the Stags got out to a 19-0 lead at the half. They extended it to 26-0, and then DeMatha tried to storm back. They got to within a touchdown, but late in the game, the Eagle defense stepped up and shut down the Stags. So the Stags fall for the second time this year. That was their WCAC league opener last night, and they have won 4 straight. It's going to be interesting to see what goes on there between DeMatha, Gonzaga, St. John's, and Good Counsel. It's going to be a dogfight this year. And again, after the regular season, we go on to the playoffs. So a lot of times it's not one and done. You've got a regular season matchup, and then you got a postseason to win a championship in the Washington Catholic Athletic Conference. Hey, Venice had IMG on the ropes early on. They got out to a 9-0 lead, but the Ascenders do bounce back and win this one in Florida last night. IMG has now won 34 straight games. Venice, though, gave them a go. A lot of people thought that Venice, the Indians, might be able to pull off the upset, but the Ascenders win it by a score of 38-12. In the MIC in Indianapolis, the great conference there, the Metropolitan Interscholastic Conference, Ben Davis picks up a win over number 91 Lawrence Central. That clinches at least a piece of the MIC for Ben Davis. They should have no problems next week when they face North Central. The Giants just continuing to roll this year, hoping to win a state championship there in Indianapolis, in Indiana's biggest classification, which is 6A. How about the defense for St. Francis? They are now 6-0. They shut out number 87 McDonough last night by a score of 28-0 in 6 games. St. Francis, the Panthers, have only allowed a total of 15 points. Quite the defense. We talked about St. John's and Good Counsel earlier. St. John's picks up the win over Good Counsel last night, 31-9. St. John's coming off a bye week, and then the week before that, they lost to St. John Bosco on a heartbreaking loss for them. They were up 17-7 and then got beaten in the fourth quarter by a score of 21-17. No leftover effects from that one. The Cadets, a little slow start. Good Counsel jumped out to the early lead, but the Cadets moved to 3-2 with that victory last night. Good Counsel, by the way, has their arch rival DeMatha coming up next week, so DeMatha is going to try and bounce back. Two teams coming off of losses. Something's got to give there. We talked about a great game in northern New Jersey last night, and here it is. St. Peter's Prep for the second straight week. Last week they had to come back in the second half to beat Paramus Catholic. They had to do it again last night against DePaul Catholic. St. Peter's Prep was down for most of the ball game. Late in the ball game, under 2 minutes to go, they closed to within 21-20. They decided to go for two, did Rich Hansen. They got the 2-point conversion, but DePaul Catholic wasn't done. They drove down the field. They had a 28-yard field goal attempt with 5 seconds to go as the clock expired, and St. Peter's holds on to win it 22-21. St. Peter's Prep number 27 in the land. See what they do tomorrow in the new High School Football America Top 100. And next week, they will take on Bergen Catholic there in the United Red in the Northern Jersey Super Football Conference. Those are the only two teams with no losses. St. Peter's is 1-0 in league play. Bergen Catholic is 2-0. The winner of that will take a big step forward to trying to win that league championship and get a high seed in the New Jersey non-public Group 4 football playoffs. St. Thomas Aquinas in Florida last night. They were able to bounce back from that shutout loss against Centennial last week in Arizona. They knock off number 88 Deerfield Beach last night. They shut them out 14-0, and give a lot of credit to the defense for the Raiders in this one. Nick Bonito snapped a string of 5 quarters without a touchdown for the Raiders. He tipped a pass near the goal line, caught it in the end zone for a touchdown, giving STA a 7-0 lead. Bonito also had 2.5 sacks. Plus, he forced a fumble in this one last evening. It was a good win, I think, for St. Thomas Aquinas. Everybody wondering, what was going to happen after that heartbreaking defeat. They were able to bounce back. Let's go around the top 25 right now, where Mater Dei gets 6 touchdown passes from JT Daniels, the junior phenom, and they double up Santa Margarita by a score of 70-35. That was the Trinity League opener out here in Southern California, the very tough Trinity League for the Monarchs. That sets up the showdown next week with St. John Bosco, number 16 in the land, and we will get to the Bosco score against Orange Lutheran last night. That was a matchup against an undefeated Lancer team that the Braves had a little trouble with at halftime, and we'll get to that score in just a second. Allen knocks off Plano West. That was on Thursday night, 59-0. The Eagles have not lost a game in the regular season in Texas since 2012. Grayson, we talked about their matchup next week against number 97 Archer. No problems at all last night for the Rams as they win it 52-6. Trinity up to 8-0 on the season. Back-to-back shutouts now. The Shamrocks win it by a score of 45-0 over Eastern. The Greater Catholic League South title goes to St. Xavier this year as they topped LaSalle last night 42-7. This was a matchup between the defending Division I champs, St. X, and the 3-time Division II champs, LaSalle. This one was never in doubt as St. X got out to the early lead. They actually had the lead 42-7 at the half. It was a shutout the rest of the way, but that's all the Bombers needed to win the Greater Catholic League South division, which is one of the best in the country. DeSoto remains undefeated 5-0 as they win easily on Thursday night. South Point from South Carolina now 7-0 as they beat Westwood last evening 48-7. American Heritage moves to 4-0 with a 42-3 win over Stranahan last night. Miami Central, they've bounced back nicely after that loss to IMG a couple of weeks ago. They've now won 2 straight. No problems last night for the Rockets. Speaking of soaring, Bishop Gorman always soars once they get back into Nevada. A 56-0 shutout last night of Clark. De La Salle only lost to Bishop Gorman. They shut out California last night in Northern California by a score of 42-0. We talked about Bosco. They doubled up Orange Lutheran, but this one was close at the break. And this one saw the Braves. They've got a little bit of a, I'm going to call it a quarterback controversy. Actually, what they have is two really good quarterbacks. They have Real Mitchell, who's going to Iowa State, and then they've got their super sophomore DJ Ugalele. And he is just a behemoth. The guy is tall. He's like 6'5", 2-something, and he's got an arm like a cannon. So they're rotating him now. How hard is it going to be to beat the Braves? You've got a guy that's a sprinter, basically, and got another guy who has a cannon for an arm. It's going to be hard to match up with Bosco. And next week, the test will come against number 1 Mater Dei, as it will be the Braves and Mater Dei in High School Football America. Will be live there on Facebook next Friday. And, after you get through the two big guys in the Trinity League, don't forget about Corona Centennial here in Southern California. Big win last night, 72-33 over Roosevelt. Tanner McKee, after 2 weeks off to get everything all healed up, had a big night with his arm and his legs last night. Brentwood Academy, a little bit of trouble in the first half with McCallie, but they come away with a 46-24 victory, and we're going to talk about the matchup they are anticipating in a couple of weeks against Montgomery Bell, but it's going to be a little bit different than what the Eagles had expected. Hoover, no problems last night with Oak Mountain coming off their bye week. The Hoover Bucks roll over Oak Mountain by a score of 59-7. Bingham still undefeated at this point in time, 8-0, 41-13 winners over Hunter last night. Mission Viejo remains unbeaten as they top Tesoro. They're now 7-0. They won last night, did the Diablos, 42-6. Let's go through some of the scores throughout the top 100. Union remains undefeated in Oklahoma. Fort Dorchester, they continue to put up tons of points. Denton Ryan in Texas is now 5-0. John Curtis only lost to number 4 Grayson, beats up on Jesuit last night. Pine Richland out of Pennsylvania, boy, that offense clicks. They whipped up on Peters Township last night, 56-7. And Cocoa, a very solid win over a very good mainland team, 21-7 in Florida. East getting ready in a couple of weeks to play IMG Academy. They win last night, 63-24, only lost to Bingham. Mountain Point, woo, a little bit of a scare there for the Pride, beating Highland by a score of 14-13 in Arizona. In a top 10 matchup in the state of Arizona, Chandler gets by Perry by a score of 55-27. Number 43, Erie Cathedral Prep from Pennsylvania goes on the road to Michigan, picks up its 6th straight win, or is that 7th? 7th straight win. Archbishop Wood beat Father Judge from Pennsylvania last night, 49-19. Long Beach Poly with a shutout of Long Beach Cabrillo. Armwood getting ready for its big showdown with Plant, knocking off Plant City, 48-7. Dutch Fork gets by Lexington, 29-7. Cartersville wins its 37th straight with a shutout. The Woodlands beat Lufkin by a score of 45-21. Evangel Christian continues to move along, 44-7. Their only loss this year to number 3 Allen. Wake Forest is undefeated in North Carolina, a shutout victory last night. Owasso bounces back from its loss in double overtime to Union a week ago. They beat Putnam City North 55-10. West Point is unbeaten in Mississippi. East St. Louis only loss, real close one to Evangel Christian. They get the shutout last night against Granite City. Buford, all over Johnson by a score of 70-0. Westlake has its big showdown next week with number 39 Lake Travis from Texas. They were on their bye week. Were the Cavaliers. The Chaps get by Hayes 34-24. Lowndes getting ready for a couple of big battles against Tift County and Colquitt County. And Lowndes last night, no problems with Mount Zion, 61-7. Manville beats Ball 35-7 in the Lone Star State. Valor Christian beat Legend in Colorado 44-7. Number 67 Trotwood Madison whipped it up on Fairborn 76-6. Klein Collins on Thursday got by Klein Oak. Pearl in Mississippi, number 70, remains undefeated. Pickerington Central beats Lancaster by just 1. They sneak by them. Number 73, Cass Tech, qualifies for the playoffs with its 5th win in Michigan, defeating Mumford. Starkville from Mississippi remains with just 1 loss, beating Greenville last night, 61-14. Prairie Ridge undefeated in Illinois, no problems with Hampshire. Number 76, Centennial, coming off of that big win against St. Thomas Aquinas out of Florida last week. Maybe a little bit of a leftover effect from the celebration. They beat Shadow Ridge by a score of 24-3. Liberty and Nevada beats Foothill 43-9. Lincoln Way East from Illinois is still unbeaten. They whip it up on Lockport. Midway from Texas beat Harker Heights. No problems there. And here's the one we were talking about earlier when we were discussing Brentwood Academy. We do not have an unbeaten versus unbeaten. That's because Ensworth moves to 6-2. This was a matchup within the High School Football America Tennessee Top 10. Ensworth beats Montgomery Bell Academy 10-7, so expect to see Montgomery Bell drop when the new release will be made tomorrow of the High School Football America Top 100. The Cougs from Harrisburg, 82 points as they win it by a score of 82-3. Duncanville beats Cedar Hill 41-6. Carroll City, a good win over Southridge last night, 44-0. Saguaro beats Thunderbird in Arizona, 55-6. Warren Central over Carmel, 35-14. Maine South in Illinois, the defending 8A champs, beating Glenbrook South. They only have one loss to the Hawks. Oakland wins over Franklin last night in Tennessee. And there you see the other three scores. Archbishop Hoban, still only one loss, that being to number 9 St. Ignatius. Bryant remains undefeated in Arkansas. And Narbonne defeats Carson by a score of 48-3. Now, one of the games that we didn't talk about was a big game that occurred in Arkansas as number 69 Pulaski Academy took on Little Rock Christian last night. And both teams were undefeated coming into this one. And you are not going to believe the amount of offense these two put up, and specifically Pulaski Academy. Now, those of you that aren't familiar with Pulaski Academy, you may have heard the story about them. This is the team that doesn't punt and always uses an onside kick. They're an offensive juggernaut, a powerhouse in Arkansas. And last night, Lane Hatcher, I'm going to have to read these stats here to you so I don't get them wrong. In the 86-56 win for Pulaski Academy, Pulaski scored on 13 of its 14 offensive possessions. They've now scored in 2 games on 21 of their last 22 possessions, and Lane Hatcher set an Arkansas State record with 745 yards passing, 36 of 46 with 6 touchdown passes. The 745 yards is a state passing record in Arkansas, third most in America all time, and 945 yards in total offense for the Bruins. Can you believe that? These two teams combined for, let's see, what was that number there? I'm looking for it right now. 1,368 yards. Little Rock Christian, they were held to just 403 yards in this one. For those of you wondering if Lane Hatcher is third all-time in America, who's number 1 and who's number 2, Matt Miller from Du Bois in Pennsylvania, the hometown state. He holds the record with 787 yards against Meadville, that coming back in 2015. He broke the 2000 record of David Corral of Pacific Palisades from California, who had thrown for 764 yards. Trey Johnson was Hatcher's favorite receiver last night. 15 catches for 325 yards and a touchdown. Wow, what a night there in Arkansas. And we're going to have Lane Hatcher on the High School Football America radio show on Thursday. So hopefully his arm will have healed by that time. That's a lot of yards to throw for. So we're going to talk to Lane Hatcher, the High School Football America radio show. We get 60,000 downloads on that. Tune in every Thursday at highschoolfootballamerica.com. So let's just wrap things up here for you. We've got 4 more games coming up tonight. Make sure you watch them. The top 100 games on the High School Football America Top 100 live scoreboard powered by ScoreStream this afternoon. A couple of dandies in New Jersey. Pope John Paul XXIII knocking off number 52, Paramus Catholic, 43-7. That will shuffle things up. St. Joseph Regional, number 47, needed a last-minute touchdown to defeat Don Bosco today by a score of 16-15. We've had 4 teams in the top 100 lose this weekend. And you can get game recaps of all the big games that have been played this weekend by going to highschoolfootballamerica.com. Again, the new High School Football America Top 100 comes out tomorrow. The algorithm is already cranking as we put in all the scores to figure out exactly where the shifts will be when we release it tomorrow. It's usually out around noontime Pacific time. That's 3 o'clock in the Eastern time zone, and you can always see it at highschoolfootballamerica.com. On Mondays, we release our regional top 20s in 7 regions, and then the state-by-states come out throughout the week. We also, in California here, do a bunch of regionals within the state. We have a Los Angeles, we have a Sacramento, we have a San Diego, we have a San Francisco ranking, so you can find all of that at highschoolfootballamerica.com. Hope you enjoyed this weekend. Hopefully you're going to enjoy us more college football the rest of the way today, and then the NFL on Sunday. Make sure you come back tomorrow. We're going to have some High School Football America Top 100 for you. We'll see you then.